With MLB 17 The Show releasing this week, everybody jumping on Diamond Dynasty is in a hurry to build the best possible team. There's a lot of diamond cards and high-tier golds that are out there that are very expensive, and usually around this time of the year, they're going to be at an all-time high price-wise. I'm going to go over some cards in the next two videos, bronze and silver budget beasts, that you can pick up for your team to help you get by for the next couple weeks until these prices start to drop and the really good cards become more affordable. In today's video, we're going to go over bronze cards at every single position. Let's get into the content. What's going on, everybody out there? This is Popular Stranger. We are back at you again today with another MLB 17 The Show Diamond Dynasty video. In today's video, it's going to be part one of two. We're going to be going over a bunch of bronze cards, a couple at every single position that are budget beast cards that are extremely affordable right now that should hold you over until you can afford those more expensive cards. These things will help you win games online. We're going to go through each and every position, starting off with starting pitching, all the way through every single positional player. So we'll start by going over some starting pitching for you guys. There's a couple guys that caught my eyes in this tier. Scott Kazmir is one of them. He's very balanced. When you look at the stats of all these different bronze pitchers, a lot of them have the control, the break, and the velocity, you know, one or maybe two stats in the 70s, and then the third being in the 60s. He's very balanced with a 76 break, 72 control, and 77 velocity. Another thing that I like about him, he is a lefty. He has a good pitching motion that is somewhat hard to pick up. He's a veteran pitcher that could have a pretty good season. You never know for the LA Dodgers, and if he does, he could be possible for an upgrade to a silver. He also has 5 pitches that you can work with, what I think is very, very nice. He has a sinker, a changeup, a slider, a four-seam fastball, and a cutter. So he's very versatile, and he's very balanced compared to all other bronze cards. And he's only 25 stubs currently. Another guy, Kevin Gausman from the Baltimore Orioles, has 87 break with 82 velocity, so he can hit you with some pretty good speed pitches. They are only 40 stubs right now, and he's also another guy that has 5 pitches, so you can hit your opponents with the 4-seam, the 2-seam, and then he also has the good break rating for his splitter, his slider, and his changeup. A nice card to check out for only 40 stubs. The other two guys, attribute-wise, that I'm going to go over aren't the greatest, but they're guys that I think could get an upgrade, and we'll have another video dedicated on some sleepers coming up later on this weekend. But Josh Tomlin, a guy who helped lead the Cleveland Indians to the playoffs and eventually to the World Series, had a great second half of the season. Only 21 stubs right now. I was a bit shocked to see they only rated him as 76 overall. I think this guy can eventually be a silver, even possibly a gold. He's a young pitcher with a lot of ability. And then another one, Dylan Bundy from the Orioles. Again, the stats aren't going to blow you away right now. This is just a guy that I think eventually can get an upgrade because he has a lot of talent. Moving on to some bullpen guys, Justin Wilson, who had a silver card last year, was a card that I really enjoyed using, and his bronze card looks pretty good for only 22 stubs so far this season. Break at 92, velocity at 87. Let's take a look at the pitches that he has in his arsenal as well. A 4-seam and a 2-seam with a cutter and a curveball. That break on the curveball can be very, very nice. 92 overall break. I really like how this card looks, and it's extremely cheap. When it comes to closers, the main thing that I like to look for is velocity, but with Adam Ottavino, he has a nice mixture of both break and velocity. His slider is extremely deceptive and hard to pick up. I actually have him as my current closer on my Diamond Dynasty team. Now, I also believe that this card has the potential to be a gold by the end of the season. He had Tommy John surgery 2 years ago, came back last year and was pretty solid for the most part, but ended up being bad towards the end of the season, and I'm surprised he's only a 76. I think he's going to have a good year as the Rockies closer. Fernando Rodney, a veteran, a guy with 89 velocity and 92 break, has a really good fastball. In last year's game and this year's game, I would definitely suggest picking this guy up just for your bullpen, even if he's not going to be your closer, and he's only 51 stubs right now. There aren't many great options at catcher with bronze cards so far this year. Francisco Cervelli was probably the best one that I can find. If you take a look, he's not going to hit for power at all, but 72 contact against righties, 85 against lefties. With those fielding abilities, having an 80 and a 77 for his arm probably makes the best option for a bronze catcher right now. 125 stubs, you might actually be able to find some silver catchers that are cheaper than that, but if you're looking for an all-bronze squad, this is your best option at catcher. The Yankees picked up Chris Carter this offseason, and I think he was a huge addition for their offense. If you're looking for strictly power, this is your guy. Look at those ratings, 92 power versus righty, 94 power versus lefty. This guy can crush home runs. That's why he was tied for the lead in the NL with Nolan Arenado last year. Another guy that's more versatile is Kendrys Morales. Now, he is a switch hitter, and the thing that's nice about him is his contact against left-handed pitchers is really nice, 85. But if you put him on the other side of the plate against righties, he also has a 73 power. So on one side, he's hitting good for contact, and on the other, he might surprise you and hit a home run. And he's only 55 stubs. At second base, there wasn't one guy that stood out, but what I did notice is there's a lot of young talent at this position as far as bronze cards go. Joe Panik for the San Francisco Giants, 73 contact versus right, 76 contact versus left, and 92 plate vision. I think is a very balanced hitter in this game. Jonathan Schoop, a young player for the Baltimore Orioles, another 79 overall. His stats aren't the greatest, but I think he had a really good second half of the season last year and could be a possible upgrade, maybe to a silver. Brandon Drury, another young second baseman for the Arizona Diamondbacks, is a guy I read about a lot this offseason. People think he might be a good fantasy baseball sleeper. 70 contact versus right, 74 contact versus left. And then last, Colton Wong, who I think was probably much better a year or two ago. Seems like he's kind of trending downward. I think he had a gold card at some point last year or maybe the year before. His stats aren't very good at all, but for 65 stubs, this could be a card you might want to invest in. If he can get his act together, he can get back to that gold status. A couple different options at third base that you can go with, starting with Alex Bregman for the Houston Astros. This is a guy who played with the U.S. team in the World Baseball Classic. Now, 185 stubs for a bronze card is a bit expensive, but this guy has a ton of potential and really good defensive stats. I don't know how much playing time he'll be able to see with Carlos Correa at third base and a tremendous infield for the Houston Astros, but this might be a good card to invest in and also put on your all-bronze team. Jake Lamb is a guy that I would heavily invest in. I think this dude has a lot of talent, and he's a great power hitter for the Diamondbacks. I'm expecting a big year from him. Only 88 stubs. This is a guard to pick up for power. Martin Prado's probably a card that you would want to put on your bench, but I think he's a good option. Look at that contact against lefties, 99 overall. If you get into a late inning situation where your opponent brings in a left-handed pitcher, you're going to bring him in, 99 contact versus lefties. You'll be able to get some good base hits with him. And then last, a guy who stayed on the West Coast but moved from Oakland to Seattle, Danny Valencia, had a pretty good season last year. 89 contact against lefties. At some point, I remember him hitting a lot of home runs. I think him and Chris Davis had a really nice streak early in the year last year for the Athletics. But only 35 stubs. I like this guy against left-handed batters to get on base. At shortstop, most of the options that you have are a lot more expensive than your typical bronze card, but there's still some really good players and guys who could probably get upgrades later on in the season. The first one, Aldamis Diaz, a great phenom for the St. Louis Cardinals at shortstop. 80 contact versus righties, 78 contact versus lefties, and he has some pretty good fielding ability as well. 222 stubs right now. Same goes with Trevor Story, a great power hitter. We all know that. Season cut short last year because of a broken thumb. 235 stubs right now, 83 power versus right, 84 power versus left. I have him on my current Diamond Dynasty team, and he's hit a couple home runs for me already in this young season. Now, Yunel Escobar is probably your cheapest option at only 29 stubs, and he's a great contact hitter with pretty good fielding ability as well. 80 versus right, 84 versus left when it comes to contact. This is a good option for a guy that's going to get you on base. Moving on to the outfield, Nori Aoki is a guy who has great contact stats for only 25 stubs, 88 contact versus left, 72 contact versus right. But the guy you're going to want to get is Kyle Schwarber. Number one, because he'll probably get an upgrade. Now, I know compared to most cards that we've gone over, he's a little bit more expensive at 351 stubs. Another guy I have on my current Diamond Dynasty team, and he absolutely rakes. He's hit quite a few home runs for me already in under this first week. 86 power against righties, 70 power against lefties, and he's pretty good defensively despite his really slow speed over there in left field. Go pick this card up. I promise you, you'll love it. A lot of different options at center field for you guys. A couple of them coming out of the NL West. The first one is Franklin Gutierrez. Take a look at those power stats for him. 91 power against righties, 91 power against lefties, and he's a right-handed batter, so he can attack either type of pitcher. 171 stubs right now. Now, LA has another young, talented phenom from the center field position in Jock Peterson, another power guy. 90 power versus righties, 70 versus lefties. This is a card that was popular in last year's game when he was a silver, and he will continue to be as a bronze card. Only 76 stubs, a very, very good option. Now, if you need a guy on the bench to steal bases, I like this card a lot. Billy Burns, 80 stubs, 97 speed, only an 81 stealing rating, but honestly, I don't think that's going to matter. As long as they have good speed, they're going to be able to steal bases in this game. And then lastly, I know I'm a homer for this pick, but I promise you David Dahl is going to have a fantastic season as long as he stays healthy. 73 contact against righty, 77 contact against lefty. He hits for very good average, and he can hit the ball out of the park. Great speed in center field, again, 85, and you can move him over to right and left field as well if you're crowded at this position. Go take a look at this card, only 61 stubs. To finish out the video, we're in right field where there are a lot of options depending on what you like. Go check all of these cards out. Of course, we have the veteran Matt Kemp, who's with the Atlanta Braves now, 79 overall, pretty balanced with contact and power stats. Yasiel Puig, a guy who you just never know, could end up breaking out and being an all-star player, or he could end up getting released by the Dodgers and we'll never hear from him again. Only 80 stubs. I think he's worth an investment, not only to make your team better, but also in case he gets better throughout the season, he could get an upgrade. Adam Duvall, a great power hitter, hit a ton of home runs last year for the Cincinnati Reds. 88 power against righties, 78 power against lefties. He's a guy that can knock the baseball out of the park. And then David Peralta, a guy who was a really good favorite budget player in the beginning of last year's game. He never really got where we thought he would to a gold status, but he still has good contact against right-handed batters, and usually he can hit the ball out of the park as well, though his power ratings are not good. There's a lot of other nice names in here like Josh Reddick, Jason Howard, Michael Saunders, Ichiro, Sin-Won Chu. There's a lot of different guys to pick up at right field. Go ahead and take your pick out of all the ones that we named, and I think you'll be happy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll be doing the same thing with silver cards coming very, very soon. If you got any suggestions of other bronze cards or even for the silver card video, please let me know in the comments section. I'm Popular Stranger, and I'm out. Peace!